Welcome. If you're ready to build a website and launch it on the World Wide Web, you've come to the right place. I'm Sumi Das from TechTV, here with our webmaster, Tom Merritt. Tom is the executive producer of TechTV's Help Sites. So he knows all about websites, and he also knows where to find out more. So are you ready to build a website?
I'm ready.
Okay. You know you're going to be doing most of the heavy lifting today. I hope that's okay.
That's no problem. I've been working out, stretching, doing some yoga, getting ready to lift large HTML files.
Ready to pump that all up?
Yeah,
okay.
Webmasters are known for being workout types. Anyway, whether your plan is to open your business on the web or create a site for your school, maybe your church, your community organization, maybe you just want to launch a family site, the basics are pretty much the same.
So let's get started with a quick rundown of what we're going to cover. Remember that saying, if you don't know where you're going, you won't know when you get there? Well, that's really true when you're building a website. You need a goal and a plan. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Set some goals and create a flow chart. Next, we'll help you select a place where your site can live on the internet. Then we'll learn a little HTML, the language of the web. We'll cover some tips on designing and writing and top it off with a few surprise bells and whistles. Sounds like a recipe. In the end, you'll have a very cool website of your very own.
And we'll also tell you about software programs, links on the internet, places on the TechTV.com website, and books from Q Publishing that offer a whole lot more information on building a website and other related topics. And we'll hear from Jacob Nielsen, regarded as the world's leading expert on website design and navigation, and the author of the bestseller, Designing Web Usability. And finally, to help you out, go to techtv.com/build-a-site. There you'll find all the links we mentioned, as well as other resources to help you build your website.
So, are you ready to get started? Okay, turn off your computer. That's right, you heard me, turn it off. I know you're dying to start building, but like I said, the first step is to figure out what we call the why, what, and who of your site. Why you're building it, what you want to accomplish, what kind of content you'll include, and who you expect to visit. Of course, there are billions of reasons to build a website, some better than others, but hey, who are we to judge?
The most important elements for building a website is to really understand your customer.
Do your research before you start. Plan well in terms of what content you want to put out there, because the more you think about it ahead of time, the better it'll be once it's actually executed.
Tell them what you do and what your value proposition is on the first page of the site. Have background information on yourself.
Make it as friendly as possible so people can find things quickly.
I think too many web companies and websites, they try to do everything. And it's important to stay focused.
Take a look at the top 10 sites that you think are really great and figure out why you like them, why you keep going back to them, why they're easy for you to use.
Ultimately, a website is to provide information. And if that information is difficult for me or I need to jump into someone else's paradigm to do it, then I'm on to the next site.
The simpler websites are often the better. So you don't have to invest a huge amount of money in building it, and you can often, a simple website can hold up very well compared to a really expensive one, as long as it really reaches out to the customer and gives good, clean information about the things that they care about. That's the core point. If you don't give them anything they care about, they're going to be gone as fast as you can say back button. But if you do give them good stuff, they're going to stay, and it's a way to really, actually literally become a worldwide company, even if you're tiny.
Whatever your reasons for building a site, you're going to need a web host of some kind to bring that site to life on the web.
There are some key things to consider when you're choosing a web host. Cost is one, bandwidth is another.
Bandwidth is the amount of data you can send at once, which ultimately affects the number of users who can visit your site at one time. You don't want your site to crash.
Right, and customer support is another factor that's important when you choose a web host. Finally, you need full access to all the files on your site so you can make changes when you need to.
Okay, now let's get down to the business of building a site and getting it on the web. You bought the video, so we're assuming you're interested in getting your hands a little dirty. But there are lots of resources available to help you with the process. Of course, there are also thousands of web designers who will be happy to design your whole site for a fee. Tom, are you one of those
Yeah,
maybe?
but I'm not cheap. Do it yourself.
But unless you're planning something incredibly complex, you can do most of the work yourself. So Tom, talk to me about some of the different ways to create a website.
Yeah, the most basic is really just a weblog, better known as blogging.
Blogging?
Yes.
That sounds like some obscure Olympic sport.
Now, it's not flogging or clogging or logging. This is blogging, and it's really just a minimalist web host that does all the hard work for you. What you do is you go to some place like Blogger or graymatter.com, and you fill in a form, and you put your thoughts, and they post it for you, and now you have an online diary.
So that's the most basic level. What's the next?
The next level is a free web space with an online tool that creates a website for you. That can be your ISP or a free online service like GeoCities or Tripod. Here's an example of one of those online tools. You can construct a web page by choosing among colors and graphics they provide. You see how it offers a kind of template with buttons for editing links, and more stuff like that?
So basically, they kind of talk you through it. You build your website using their tools.
Right, but if you don't want to use their tool, the next level is to build the pages yourself on your own computer and then upload them to one of these free services like your ISP, GeoCities, or Tripod. And finally, if you want to use your own domain name, like sumidas.com, for instance, you're going to have to pay for the privilege.
And how much would I have to pay for that?
It's around $35 to get your name, and then web hosts charge anywhere from nothing to hundreds of dollars for the space. Average is around $50 for someone to host your website for you. How much you pay depends on how much disk space you need and how much traffic your site gets.
We should probably mention here that there is one more level that we won't cover on this tape, and that would be if you actually run a server out of your own home and host your own web pages. Sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, it's technically challenging, although with DSL and broadband solutions becoming more common, it is becoming more possible.
All right, on with the site building part of the program. When Tom, the producers, and I were planning this video, we figured what better way to demonstrate the building process than to actually build a website. Brilliant, right? So welcome to the official TechTV softball website. And why did we pick our softball team as the subject of our site?
Because you are such a star in the team.
Superstar. No, actually, that's not true because I actually haven't made it to a practice yet. I'm trying, though. We picked it because it allows us to present all the elements of a good site pretty clearly, and besides, we needed a site so everybody on the team knows what's going on. So in case you missed it, that was the short version of completing the why, what, who exercise. So now we know why we're building a site and we've got a web host. What's next?
The next step is going to be to map out the structure of your site by creating what's called a flow chart. It's a visual guide that will help you decide how you want users to move through the information on your site. Picture your site as a tree.
Does it have branches?
Yes, it's going to have branches, and you put the main page in the root directory. So that makes sense. You want to be able to get from one branch to another at any point. Keep away from having tons of links everywhere, and focus on keeping the flow organized.
Here's the hierarchy of information we created for the TechTV softball site. Rather than direct visitors through, we wanted them to be able to roam freely. These are the main areas we want people to access from our homepage, and our chart shows where those pages lead. The homepage selections are Schedule, Shop, Roster, Links, and Photos. Under Roster, we have submenus Player Bios and Player Stats. Under Shop, we have Gear, Videos, and Books. When you click on Books, we'll list a number of baseball-related books and a link to a bookseller like Amazon.com. Same goes for videos. Under Gear, we're going to have photos of t-shirts, hats, and other equipment. And then, to order, we'll link to a sportswear sales site.
Remember, users hate to click, so make sure they can get to your homepage easily, even from a page deep within your site. And watch out for what we call orphan pages. Those are poor little pages that are dead end. They have no link back to the rest of the site, and the user is stuck with no option but to press the back button. The web is the ultimate freedom-loving environment, and users want to go where they want to go, so set them free. Let them sidestep any predetermined sequence as much as possible.
If you love them,
set them free.
Once you've organized the information, you're ready to select names for the navigation bars.
When selecting names for the navigation bars, keep them short, concise, and inviting. I recommend using text for your navigation bars, not graphics. Graphics can double or triple the load time for your site. If you feel you must use graphics, keep them small and keep them to a minimum. Remember, people are looking at navigation for information on where to go, not to be wowed or entertained. They'll be wowed or entertained when they get there. Also, avoid changing fonts and text links because fonts don't display the same on every computer.
We asked web design guru Jacob Nielsen to tell us what he's learned over the years about user-friendly navigation. Here's what he had to say.
The key things in navigation are that people have to know where am I and where can I go, and also preferably where have I been. But particularly where am I and where can I go, those are the two most important issues. And so for any given web page, you have to really situate it in context or relative to the rest of the website, really make people understand the information space. And that's something that they often don't get, and you feel very kind of isolated. Oh, I'm here, but where is here? And that makes it very hard to understand what you're doing on the website, and you very often get this feeling of just being completely lost, and we really want to avoid that.
Now we know how the information on our site should flow.
Time to learn some HTML.
But isn't there an easier way that doesn't involve HTML?
Well, actually, there's a whole range of software out there that can help you. Programs of various levels of complexity and cost. Some are free, like Netscape's Composer, or pretty reasonably priced, like Microsoft's Front Page. You can get more complex programs. They're costly, like Macromedia's Dreamweaver. The problem is that most of these programs change the code on you, so you may not be able to make the page look the way you really want to. For full control, just learn some HTML, and then you can use a program like Dreamweaver or Composer as a shortcut or a learning tool.
Now, before we start, let's tell the viewers what HTML means.
Hypertext Markup Language.
Okay, one more time. Perhaps you didn't hear me. Let's tell the viewers what HTML means.
Hypertext markup, oh no, it's a markup language, and what that means is it instructs your computer how to arrange a document. HTML really isn't a programming language. A lot of people make that mistake. It's just a way of marking text so that your browser, the thing you look at a page with, knows how to display it.
I'm with you so far.
Now, to write HTML, all you need is a text editor and a browser like Internet Explorer, Opera, or Netscape Navigator, so you can look at the pages you create. If you use Microsoft Windows, you have a basic text editor right there. It's called Notepad. You'll find it in your Windows Accessories folder. Now, if you're a Mac user, you can download BBEdit Lite. And if you want a more sophisticated text editor, look online. There are lots of free or shareware programs. I use Lorenz Groff's HTML tool. It's free to try, $25 to purchase. Now, HTML needs to be created in text-only format, not Word format, or any format that includes styles or tabs. If you create your web pages in Microsoft Word, default settings may try to display the actual web page. They may mess around with the code, do things like smart quotes, which don't work with HTML. That's what auto-forming can really mess up your code. That's why you need a text editor.
Okay, so HTML is the language of the web. Now, I've heard that tags are important. Tell us about those.
That's what we mark the text with. Remember when I said it's a markup language? Tags are the markings. They're commands held between brackets, little less than and greater than symbols. You need a beginning tag and an ending tag placed around the text you want to display in a particular way. Anything you place between the beginning and the ending tags will take on the attributes described by the tag. For example, let's use the bold tag. I've got a basic HTML page. I'm going to write Sumi Das regular, but then I'm going to write Sumi's name again, and I'm going to put the bold tags around it. There's the B, and then you close it. Everything between this B and this B will show up bold. So I'll save it and load it in the browser. There you see that one's normal, and that one's bold.
It's great.
You need a few bare minimum tags to make your page even work. These are the essential tags for every web page. Notice that each of these tags has a corresponding end tag as well. The HTML tag tells the browser that the page should be interpreted as HTML. The head tag defines the place where you insert other tags that won't appear on the page but need attention from the browser. The title tags contain text that you wish to display at the top of the browser window.
We don't have a title yet, right?
Right, so let's put one in, TechTV Softball.
Great.
And then save that, refresh, and there it is, TechTV Softball, right there at the top of the browser window. This is also the text that will appear when someone bookmarks your page. Still with me?
I'm hanging on your every word.
Okay.
I'm riveted.
Let's move on to show what will actually appear on the web page. That's what we call the body.
So it would make sense that you would set body tags around each element that you want to appear on the page.
Almost. Not each element. You just want to put one body tag at the beginning and one body tag at the end, and everything else on the page that is within that will show up on the page.
Before you begin creating your site, it's a good idea to do a little research. Surf the web and figure out which websites you like and why. Then look at sites that cover similar topics. If your site is about dachshunds, for example, look at how other sites cover the little guys.
Dachshunds?
Dachshunds, why not?
And if you find a site you really like, say it's about Rottweilers, it's not hard to borrow or adapt the layout. You can see the code for any web page by choosing View Source from the View menu. And open it up, and you have all the code for this site. Now you can just skip past all of this top part, all of this scary code. If you want to see how they did something in particular, scroll on down, and you can see all of the code for the site. We'll get into tables later, but there's some table coding in there. You can see how they made text do different things. And in fact, you can even save it. You just choose to save from the program you're in. Now you've got that page on your hard drive. Open it up in Notepad or BBEdit and play around with the code yourself.
And that's not considered stealing, that's just considered...
As long as you don't try to pass off their work as your own, it's just borrowing and learning.
It's fun. All right. On to page layout and design. There are basic elements that are a part of most every website. There are the navigation bars, usually one on top or bottom, that offer access to email, contact information, and other standard topics. There's usually a left side navigation of some kind with the main information menu selections. Then there's a content area that takes up most of the rest of the page.
Now believe me, over the past few years, everyone has tried to come up with a better solution than this clamp where you have the navigation on the left and a bar across the top. Sometimes people call it a sash, but nobody has come up with a better way to do it, and by now everybody's pretty used to it, so it's not a good idea to change that because it confuses people. But hey, if you come up with a better idea, email me and Sumi. We'll split it 3 ways.
There you go. And also, this is what we see in newspapers. For example, USA Today, other newspapers that I've seen. I think people are just it's very familiar.
Yeah, that's probably why it's become so common.
Now, consistency is really important when you're designing your site. Don't move key elements around on different pages or you'll really confuse your visitors. Familiarity is a good thing when it comes to websites. Folks like to know what to expect and where they can find things quickly and easily. Once you have a basic shape for your site, think about the look you hope to achieve. If you're going to share the same design throughout the site, it's good to know up front. You can save time by creating headers for each page that are the same size, font, and color before the pages are created. So that's kind of like a template, Tom?
Yeah, something that'll be the same on every page. Saves you a little work.
That way, you can power through the creation of your pages, simply inserting the appropriate images and content. Okay, enough advice. I think we're ready to begin. Let's start with the background color for the page. How do we write the HTML code for the background?
Okay, that's what's called an attribute. We talked about tags earlier. They're the things you put around the text that you want to display in a certain way. An attribute affects the way that tag works. Now, for instance, we're going to use the body tag.
Okay.
So there's an attribute that you just put within the brackets called BG color.
And that's the beginning bracket.
Yeah, and this is what's going to tell you what color to display the body. So this area in here, which is all white, that's just default in that browser. But if we want to make sure that every browser makes it white, we type in white.
Okay.
Now there's also a hexadecimal code, #FFFFFF.
Hexadecimal?
Yeah,
But it understands
it's a
plain
code
English,
that the
too.
browser uses particularly if you want to use funny codes or funny colors or strange colors. But most browsers understand English, so you can just type in the color. Let's change it to blue so that we can actually see it change. We'll save it to our directory. Reload it. Voila!
There we go.
It is blue.
Now, could you put in any color? Could I go through my Crayola crayon box and put in BG color equals burnt sienna?
Yeah, burnt sienna is not going to work.
No?
It's pretty much just the main colors: red,
Periwinkle?
blue, pink. No periwinkle.
Okay.
No cornflower.
All right.
Sorry.
Well, but the blue's very nice.
The only problem with the blue is you can't really see this text very much. So I recommend that you keep your background colors white, and other people recommend that too because it seems to be the best way to ease reading of a web page.
There are clearly some colors that work better than others for websites. Should you define a color palette before you start kind of picking?
Yeah. Decide what colors you want to use and stick to them. Like I said, when it comes to background, white's best.
I think I have to disagree. I'm kind of into the colors, as you can tell from my burnt sienna and periwinkle remarks. I think sometimes a background design can be very cool. There are sites that I've seen that have wallpaper effects as a background screened way back, and I think it looks great.
Okay, like this one here?
Yeah, see, I like that. It's not distracting.
This isn't too bad. It's white enough that you can
Okay.
still read the text, so I don't have too much of a problem. That's the beauty of the web, though. There aren't any hard and fast rules. That background looks just fine. Indulge me for a minute longer. Let me show you some backgrounds that have gone terribly wrong. I've got one right here, bookmarked. You just don't want to do
Ooh,
that.
okay, that's a little too much. You've made your point. We asked web guru Jacob Nielsen his opinions about design and color from a usability standpoint. Here's what he had to say.
This consideration in color design for the web is mainly have a very high contrast between the text and the background, because that's incredibly important for readability. If the text and the background are too close together, it's very hard to read. So preferably actually a white or very light background and black or very dark letters. You can also do the reverse, having a very dark or black background and very light or white letters, but that's just a little bit harder to read. So I usually prefer dark text on very light background.
Now we're ready to plug some content into our site, and I have just a few words of advice. Let me get up on my soapbox here. Keep copy short, conversational, short, concise, and did I mention short? I think I did.
You mentioned it.
Okay. Everybody's in a hurry, and users should be able to take one look at your home page and know what you're all about. Lose the warm and fuzzy statements and the self-serving rhetoric. Save that for your family. Tell them on the first page what they can do there. Don't beat around the bush.
Right, and let's put in some text now and see what happens. Sumi, just tell us about the softball team.
Okay.
And try to keep it short.
I'll
will
do
you?
that. I'll try to take my own advice.
While she types, I'm going to talk about some do's and don'ts of website content. First of all, do keep plenty of white space. The goal is to make it easy for readers to find the information they're looking for. Remember, you're writing for scannability. It's hard to read on a computer monitor. Tests have shown that. So break that content up into consistent, coherent chunks. Use lots of headlines, subheadings, even bullet points. Those are the little things with the dots that show up next to lines of text. Anything that helps people move through the copy more efficiently.
Okay, I think that tells the story. Let's take a look.
Okay.
Oops,
Mouse
move the mouse.
back. Let's save that again and refresh it, see how it looks.
Not too bad, but it kind of runs all together. I mean,
Yeah, did you want to break that up a little?
I think so.
Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me show you how to do that. Let's see. Sumi Das is not a member of the softball team, but she's trying very hard to make it to a practice. Okay, let's
one
make
thought.
that one paragraph. What you do is you put a P tag here. Now, remember we said you have to use closing tags?
Yes.
There is a closing tag for the P.
Right.
It's a /P. Almost nobody uses it. You can use it. It would need to go at the end of the paragraph, but you don't have to. And then we'll save that, refresh, and there it is, broken up into a paragraph. Now let's say, just for argument's sake, that you wanted to make this next sentence just start on the very next line. You didn't want this space here
Right,
in
the
between.
extra line.
You can actually use the BR tag. That stands for a line break.
Okay.
And when we save that, it moves that down to this line.
Oh, that's
right
much
here.
better. It's not one big glob as
So-
it was before.
Just to recap, a P will put a space between a paragraph, and a BR tag will force it to go down to the very next line.
You want to use that to break up your page. One thing that really annoys me is a site with a long scrolling dialogue. Even though research shows users are scrolling more these days and resenting it less, it still makes sense to keep it short. There's that word again. If you have more to say, give people the option with a more link, which brings up another question. How do you link to something? An email address, a file, even to another site maybe?
You can link to any text on your site by surrounding the text or the image tag with an anchor tag. You can also link to other sites or to other areas within your own site. If, for example, you hit the winning run for the last game, the homepage would feature that story, and I could link that story to the page that shows your stats. So we could see if that hit was a fluke or if you're really that good.
I guess if I want to see that story up on the site, I actually have to make it to the practice.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea. Here's what the HTML looks like for that link. So at the top of this paragraph, we're going to put a headline that says "Sue me homers," and we're going to link that with an anchor tag. A starts the anchor tag, then href. That stands for hyperlink reference. That tells the browser when you click on the following text, take the person there. So we're going to have it linked to sumestats.html. That would be a page we'd have to create later on that would have all your stats on it. And then remember to put a closing tag on this one. P and BR, you can lose the closing tag, but those are really the only ones. If you don't put a closing tag on this, it's going to link everything for the rest of the page, and that's a little bit too much. So /A is the closing tag, and we'll put a P after it so that it breaks off from the next text, and there it is. Sue me homers. Yeah.
Looks like a real live link.
You could also direct the users to other websites, maybe to a competing team's site. The tag for that would read ahref equals http://channel2.com, if that's who we were playing. Everything within these tags will be linked. Like I said, don't forget to end the bracket / or everything will be linked forever to the end of the page.
Okay, back to our page design. Shouldn't some of the copy be bold with subheads just to distinguish?
Yeah, we called this a headline before, but it doesn't really look like a headline, does it? Let's make it that. Outside of the text here, we're going to use what's called H1. There's H1, H2, H3, all the way down to 6, and the lower number makes it bigger.
Okay.
So H1 is actually...
But you only have 6 options then?
For headlines. You can change the font size. We'll get into that later.
Okay.
H1 actually makes it big. So now it's a big headline, Sue me homers.
A big headline to nowhere.
Put another softball headline here and make it H2 so you can see the difference. More about TechTV softball. And remember to close the tag. And so we'll save that. And now we have a misspelled thing. You can fix that real easy. That's what the beauty of this is. You just go back and forth. And there, it's fixed. Now, one last thing. We talked about bullet points earlier, so let's put a few of them in here at the end of the page before we're done. Then we're going to have to take out your name.
That's okay.
Sorry about
I'll get
that.
over it.
UL is the first tag, and that stands for unordered list.
Oh, I would have guessed underline.
No, actually in HTML it stands for unordered list, and it's going to put the little black dots next to every element in our list. So to tell the page that you're doing a list item, you make the LI tag.
Okay.
And we're going to call this upcoming events. And again, we're going to put a paragraph tag at the beginning so that they know this is a new paragraph. The unordered list tag actually works like a paragraph tag, so you don't have to put a paragraph tag before the UL tag. It'll actually automatically put it on the next line down.
All right.
Then after the LI, first number in our list, we'll say Sue me makes it to practice.
Film at 11.
And then we'll do another list item. Patrick Norton goes for 70th homer.
He's such an athlete.
Now, if you notice, I didn't put /li at the end.
Is that like the P's and the
It's
BRs?
like those. You can get by without them, but you do need to put a /ul, or everything after that will be part of the list. So if this is confusing you which ones to end, just end them all.
Okay.
And let's save this and take a look. And now we have a little bulleted list. See the little black dots next to that? Now, the other one I want to show is the ordered list, because we like order. And you use the same LI tag to show that this is an element of the list. And let's make this one the upcoming schedule.
Okay.
And that's why it's numbered, because the first game will be against, say, Channel 2. And the next game is going to be against the Bombers. And then finally, we close the OL tag, just like we did closing the UL tag, /OL. And we save that. And there it is. We have a numbered list at the bottom of our page.
I love the immediacy of this.
And the nice thing about doing a numbered list, you may say, why don't I just put 1 and 2 in front of it? Well, if you want to change the order of a list, the links will automatically number themselves just by putting the LI tag, so you don't have to go back and renumber.
It'll just automatically be there for
That's
you.
right.
Now, another thing that I find really annoying and hard on the eye is when people change the color of their text too much. And you shouldn't change the color of linked text especially. Links to pages that haven't been seen by the user are blue. Links to previously seen pages are purple or red. This is one of the only navigational aids that is standard in most web browsers. Don't mess with it.
All right, now that we're getting a bunch of code on our website, we should talk about some good housekeeping tips. First of all, keep space around the tags. That'll make your code easier to read. See how I've put line breaks here? In HTML, when I make a line break in this, it doesn't do anything to the code. You want to keep that space open so you know where to look when you go back to change the code. And once you get into formatting the style of their text, you may have more than one tag for certain text. This is known as nesting. It's a good place to start that housekeeping by making sure that when you have a starting tag, the browser sees the ending tag in order. So for instance, we nested our headline tag right here. We had H1, then we had the link, then the linked text, then we closed the link first, and in reverse order, we did the H1 closing tag.
Don't worry if you're not feeling like a pro at HTML yet. I'm not really there myself. This is truly the crash course. There are whole books, websites, and courses dedicated to teaching HTML. In fact, on the TechTV website at techtv.com/build-a-site, you can participate in an HTML workshop online, or you might want to pick up a copy of Q Publishing's HTML by Example, which walks you through HTML projects step by step. Okay, Tom, show me what we have so far. I need a little gratification.
All right, here we go. This is, what do you think?
I like it. It's nice. It kind of looks like a memo, though, a little too businesslike. Needs a little spicing up, some pizzazz. What do you think? Maybe a picture?
I think yes, absolutely yes. But before we load it up with a bunch of stuff, with your crazy pizzazz pictures, we need to talk about the 10-second rule.
It's come time for the 10-second rules?
It's time.
Okay, you have 10 seconds. Go.
Web surfers typically have very short attention spans. The rule is that nothing should take more than 10 seconds to load, or
Okay.
you're going to lose your viewers.
10 seconds on the T1 line that I use at work, or 10 seconds on the 56K modem that I have at home?
Very perspicacious of you to point out 10 seconds on a 56K modem right now, because that's what most people use, but it's going to be 10 seconds on whatever modem is most dominant when you make your page. So 10 years down the road from this video, it could be DSL.
Okay.
Right now it's a 56K modem. So you need to use your graphics and photos just to add punch now and then, and always compress your graphics with programs like Adobe's ImageReady, or you can use some online free services.
Now, I know you're supposed to use GIF for a graphic, the GIF format, and JPEG for a picture, but I'm not exactly sure why. Can you tell us?
A GIF and a JPEG are just two different types of files, like a document for a Word document. GIF is a file type that is basically used for logos on the web. JPEG is a file type that's basically used for photos. You can tell the difference by looking at the end of the file name for the .gif for GIF. Some people call it a GIF, and .jpg for JPEG.
So let's add a couple of images to our site. You'll need a program to import photos and graphics. Adobe Photoshop is the mega program available for an equally mega price. There's a new Adobe Light program, however, that's available, and it's called Elements. There are also other humble programs like Painter and PaintShop Pro that are much less expensive and will probably suit the needs of folks watching this video just fine, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. So you have a photo of yourself we can add to the site?
Well, I guess I would actually have to go to practice to get a photo
Right,
of myself.
yeah.
But fortunately, you can borrow graphics and images from graphic artists and public domain collections online. Sites like DHD Photo Gallery and Corbis offer free or low-cost photos. So do desktoppublishing.com, Two Dogs, and freegraphics.com.
Yeah, you can just go to Google and do a search for whatever photos you're looking for and probably find some royalty-free photos. That's what I did. I searched for softball photos and came up with this picture.
That is me.
She being you.
Yeah, exactly. She.
Well,
I am
let's
wearing
add
that.
this picture of you to our
Play
site.
along with me.
We're going to put it right next to the story about your home run that we talked about earlier. The tag for adding an image is IMG, that stands for image. Then there's an attribute called SRC. That stands for source.
Okay.
And that will tell the browser where to find the image you want to include on your page. So we're going to call it catcher.jpg. I've saved it to my hard drive that way. And this says catcher.jpg is in the same place that this file is in.
Okay.
If it's somewhere else, like in a different directory, a folder, you put the name of the folder, then a slash, and then that name. Then we close that tag. We save it, and we're going to go to our test page, refresh, and there it is.
There it is, except it's
big as
huge.
life.
Yeah.
In fact, it pushes all the text way down there. That leads me to another attribute of the image tag, width and height.
Okay.
You can actually make the picture appear smaller in modern browsers. Here in Netscape, I've loaded just the image, and it tells me it's 300 by 440. That's the size, 440 tall, 300 wide. So I'm going to go back to this notepad, and I'm going to make the height smaller proportionally.
Squish it down, right, exactly. You don't want to distort the image.
Yeah.
Or maybe sometimes you do, but
if
in
you
this case we don't.
Yeah, go ahead. But in this case, we don't. So the height was 440. Let's make it 220.
Half the size.
That's just exactly half. And the width would be 150. And now we'll save that. Go back to our towering catcher page. That looks a little better. It's a better size.
Much better. There's still a lot of white space over here, though.
Yeah, that leads to another attribute that you can use on the image tag. The image tag has lots of attributes you can play around with. There's more than we're going to show you right here. Align equals will tell you where to put the image in relation to the text.
Okay.
So if you want it to be on the left, you'd say left. Right, you'd say right. We're just going to make it on the left for this example. Now we'll go back here and refresh, and there it is to the left of all the text.
That's so much better. Now, do you only have the options of left, right, and center?
Can't use center, actually.
Can't use center.
Only left and right. To make it go in the center of text, you'd have to use a table, and we'll tell you how to do that later.
Okay.
Now let's add a logo. Since we added a JPEG, let's add a GIF. We could create one in one of those programs we talked about earlier, or we can just borrow it from another site. Let's go to TechTV, since this is the TechTV softball site.
Now, what do you
and
mean
we can
by
borrow this logo.
It sounds a little sketchy, a little dodgy.
Instead of actually hosting this graphic on your own site, you can actually find out where this graphic lives. So I'm going to open it in Netscape and get just the image open. And I can see here that it's techtv.com/graphics and TTV logo GIF. Now I'm going to copy that entire URL, and just the way before we said this image exists at catcher.jpg, and it assumed that it was on our own hard drive.
Right.
Let's put this one at the very top under body, image, SRC, and the source is actually going to be that address. It's telling the browser, look here, look on techtv.com, find this graphic, and display it there.
It'll go get it, bring it back, and put it on our page.
Exactly. So let's go back and refresh our page, and there it is.
There it
but
is.
It's actually not on our hard drive. It's pulling it off the internet from techtv.com's page.
Are there any issues with doing this?
Yeah, we're doing that. It's okay. We work for TechTV. But TechTV might not be so appreciative of a user at home doing that because you're using their bandwidth to load a graphic onto your page. Some sites will complain about that. Also, if the site you're borrowing the graphic from goes down or closes up shop and they're gone, you're going to get a broken graphic and there won't be a logo on your site. But it is a pretty cool way to borrow graphics.
One thing to keep in mind when you're including graphics or photos on your site is that both GIF and JPEG are compressed formats. They're designed to be used only for the final output of the web building process. You should always create your graphics in the native format of your graphics software and make the conversion to GIF or JPEG the very last step. To edit files later, you also need to go back to the original files. Trying to edit JPEGs especially can be pretty tricky. Again, there are books and websites dedicated to the art of websites. There's also a comprehensive section of the web workshop at techtv.com/build-a-site that focuses on adding images to your site.
Yeah, the topic of images and bandwidth and page load, which is what it's called, is really, really huge. It's such a big deal, in fact, that there are whole companies devoted just to hosting photos and graphics for large websites.
Now, the other option is, if all you want to do is just post images on a site and share them with friends and family, just pictures, then you can do that using the services that are available. For example, I use Club Photo to host my pictures. OPhoto, Yahoo offers it, your own ISP may do that. You upload your pictures to their server. You've got thumbnails of these images. You can put up to 60 in one album. And if you want to get a larger view of one, for example, if I want to look at the Taj Mahal,
Yeah, that's a good one.
I can enlarge it and look at the bigger view. Of course, you don't want to put your only copy of your image up there and then delete it off of your own hard drive. Always keep a copy for yourself. But this is so great because I can send this URL to my family in India. They can look at them right away. It's a nice, easy way to share photos. So if all you really want is an online photo album, you don't have to go through the trouble or the fun, as Tom might argue, of building a website. You can just use one of the services that are available online.
Really, when you think about images in the web, you have to think about how fast people get their information. And that's so critical to web users because speed is what the web is about. And I click, I get, I move. I mean, that's the happy feeling about the web. I click, I wait. Well, that's the unpleasant part of the web. Right? So to avoid this problem, I just say minimize the number of images and also the size. Because a really big picture really does take a long time to download, and people just do not want that.
For me personally, I hate it when it takes so long to download. I mean, you have time to eat dinner and take a shower and come back, and it's only half downloaded. I mean, what's up with that?
Most people are in dial-up modem. Still, if you have, a really heavy, graphic-intensive site that's beautiful, most people aren't going to be able to see most of that.
I don't have time to sit and wait 60 seconds, 70 seconds for a website to load. And I think it's actually kind of presumptuous of a lot of websites to throw that much information into their front end.
Okay, Tom, let's check in again, see what we've created.
All right, here's what it looks like. What do you think?
It looks pretty good. I like the addition of the picture, but it kind of runs together. Isn't there a way to kind of separate the elements out more creatively, give it a little more definition?
Aha.
Yes?
A chance to talk about one of my favorite subjects.
Oh no, what have I done?
Tables and frames.
Okay.
Okay, let's take a look. This is a table designed in the evil frames. And there's some real problems with frames. First of all, you can't easily bookmark the page. Bookmarking is when you have the browser save the location.
Right.
Well, if I save the location of this page, this is what it's going to look like when I come back because it's only bookmarking this area over here, not what's available in the frame.
I've often seen the message, your browser does not support frames.
Right. Sometimes if you have an older browser and frames aren't working, you won't even be able to see the site. Printouts are hard because you have to remember, oh, I have to click in here if I want to print this part. And nothing looks worse than a page that opens in the wrong frame, unless it's a site with a bunch of claustrophobic, pointless little frames cluttering up the screen.
So tell me how you really feel about frames.
I don't like them.
So what do tables bring to the party that is so great?
You mean, what do tables bring to the table? Tables are the workhorse of web layout. They're not perfect, but they do allow a sensible layout to be done without learning advanced coding languages like Java. Tables are really just horizontal rows and vertical columns, which when you cross them create spaces called cells. They make pages easier to read and let you present much more information at one time. They let you control the placement of your text and images in different areas of the page instead of one long column like we have now. Now the differences can be pretty dramatic, so let's see what we can do with our site if we add a couple of tables. Now remember the conversation we had earlier about navigation bars?
Yes.
Okay, well ours is here at the bottom of the page. I've coded in our navigation from our flow chart earlier. So let's create a table that'll put them on the left side instead of all the way down here at the bottom. So we're going to start below our logo. Here's our logo. It's a GIF. That's the kind of file format that is that TechTV logo. And we're going to start it with, logically enough, table.
Table tag.
Okay. Now, this is a little tricky. You start with rows. TR stands for table row. And then within each row is a cell. And that is TD. Don't worry about why it's D. That's just the way it is.
I'm not going to ask why it's not TC. But
okay. Now, in the left column, which is the first cell in this row, we're going to put all of these links, which are our navigation.
Okay.
So we haven't lost you. Let's show you what we're doing. This part down here, we're going to move it to the left.
To the top.
And we're going to put all of this stuff here on the right. So let's go back to the code. I've cut that out. and then I'm going to paste it in right here, putting in some white space so I know what I'm doing. Let's make a return mark here so we know this is this row, this is the cell, and then we have to close that cell with a /TD. Okay.
But you're not closing the table.
No, not yet. We're only closing the one cell that will be on the left. And then we're going to open another cell on the right, TD. Everything else on the page, all of this stuff over here, is going to be in the right. So we go down to the bottom of what all of that code was. Remember our ordered list with the numbers is at the bottom? And we close TD. Are we done?
I don't know. It seems like no.
Because we haven't closed the row yet. That was a trick question. So /TR to close the row, and then /table to close the table. So let's take a look. Hey, look, there it is.
Okay.
Navigation on the left, content on the right.
Now that looks pretty good, but what about this white space above the...
Oh yeah, that's kind of weird, isn't it?
Can we kind of space that out?
Yeah, let's, I'm going to open it in this program over here. Let's see, there it is. That's our example page. Yeah, okay.
Now, what are you using here? Because that doesn't look like our friend the Notepad program.
Oh, this?
Yeah,
this little thing? Remember when I talked about
thing?
Dreamweaver and Composer and Front Page earlier?
Is that what we're using?
Yeah, those are WYSIWYG editors, and I'm using that to let me see the layout of the table. And actually,
now, I've heard of
it looks pretty
WYSIWYG,
good.
but we should define it. What you see is what you get.
Exactly. WYSWIG. It's what you get. And it's basically a program that works like a word processor. It lets you put all of the elements of the page here, and then it has these shortcuts. So I actually could have created a table by pushing on one of these buttons over here.
And it would just automatically fill in the table with the information we already have.
Right.
Okay.
So one of the problems, though, is how do I make this go up to the top, like you were asking before?
Space it out evenly.
Well, I can right-click, and then there's all these commands, and I'd have to learn how to use this program, whereas if I know HTML, I can just go and view the code within this program. Now, what it's done, though, is it has added this attribute to my cell called width equals 69. That was a way to do all of this easy without me having to go and measure out where the widths are. Macromedia Dreamweaver, I should mention that it's a free download for 30 days, but then you have to pay a lot of money to use it. But there are free ones like Composer and Front Page.
Okay.
So anyway, it has put in these attributes for me, the width and the height. That was the cheating part. But it's a little difficult to make it, to learn how to make it do the vertical align. There's a command to do it, but since I know HTML, I'm just going to say v-align, which is an attribute for vertical alignment of the text, equals top, and then I can go back and I'll view the design in Dreamweaver, and voila, there it is at the top. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back here and refresh, and there it is at the top. And so we have a nice layout with our navigation on the left and our content over here on the right.
Shortcuts seem to make it so much easier.
Problem is, sometimes these programs like Front Page, Composer, Dreamweaver, they overcorrect your text because they're trying to take HTML, write it behind the scenes the way you would, and also display it at the same time. It also may be difficult or impossible to edit your page with anything else but the program you've started with because of non-standard tags and extraneous code. Microsoft Front Page is a violator of that. That's why it's important to learn HTML. If you learn HTML, you can use a WYSIWYG program like Dreamweaver or Composer or Front Page, make your page up, then if it doesn't look right, like it didn't here, you open it up in a text editor like Notepad, or sometimes these programs have their own text editor, you tweak the code a little, then you go back into the WYSIWYG, see how it looks, and you're done.
Okay.
Now I'm going to say it again. The web is built on HTML. The more you know about it, the more you'll understand how to design attractive, functional pages. Friendly editors like these WYSIWYGs are fine for putting up a few quick pages, but if you intend to get even somewhat serious about web design, you'll be glad you have a good solid grounding in basic HTML.
So here's what our site looks like in tables with a logo and photos added. I think it looks terrific.
Yeah, now if you're wondering, hey, how do you do all these lines like this?
There's some extra
I
stuff
actually
in
did
there.
some extra stuff while you weren't looking, and put in some small GIFs to make these lines and made extra tables, so there's some tables within tables. If you want to know how that happened, if you want to know how to do it, what do?
Go to the techtv.com/build a site.
Right, and you just get a link to this, then you view the source, and you can actually take a look at all of the code I used to make it look all pretty like this.
So these are just like we added that TechTV logo, you added these lines just like that.
Yep.
Easy enough. Of course, there are a bunch of other additional things we could do to enhance it even further. Not that it isn't beautiful just the way it is.
Of course.
There are animation programs like Flash that we could use to jazz it up.
Yeah, here's an example of Flash right here.
Okay.
And you can even include streaming video in your site.
Okay, but that's another whole program. If you're interested, you can also log on to techtv.com/build-a-site and take advantage of the web workshop there. Or pick up one of Q Publishing's books on Flash, like the Macromedia Flash 5 Action Script for Fun and Games, which contains more than 30 games, plus variations that you can customize and build into your site. But remember, one of the basic rules of website building, keep it fairly simple because everything you add increases download time. Any other tidbits you want to add, Tom?
Yeah, I want to warn people against animating graphics too much. They can be very distracting, especially anything that constantly strobes or blinks. Even text that scrolls on its own can be annoying for some people. Here's an example I made of animation gone very, very wrong.
This is what not to do. Do not try this at home. Try it and then don't do it.
And if you want to astound your friends, there's also a link to this at techtv.com/build-a-site. Don't overload your pages with graphics. Your site's going to load slowly anyway, and people may not wait around to see what you have on it. And if you do include something like a Flash animation or other Flash segment, don't force people to watch it. That's a good philosophy across the board. When you're designing a website, don't force anything. Remember, just because you think something is cool doesn't mean the rest of the world may not find it annoying.
Same goes for sound. Most people go to the web for information, not for entertainment. If they want music, they'll probably stream a radio station. Music done tastefully can enhance your site, but done badly, it'll drive people crazy. There's some music playing on this site. Now, if you still feel that you must include music, make sure you include a stop button, which fortunately this site does have. Please hit the stop button. Thanks, Tom. Remember, we're not forcing anyone to do anything. Nobody's holding a gun to your head, but even if you do add a stop button, it's a good idea to avoid looping the music. And again, for more on adding sound to your site, check out the web workshop at techtv.com/build-a-site. Now that we've completed our site, we want people to see it, of course. That means it needs a name. Your homepage can be located in a subdirectory under your hosting service's domain. For example, if my service is Earthlink, my address might be earthlink.net/tilde-sumidas. But if you want your own address, your site will need a domain name.
Yeah, there are two parts to a domain name, and they're separated by the infamous dot. The part on the right, the com for commercial, net for networks, org for organization, edu for education, gov for government, and mil for military, plus any that they'll add in the future, are called top-level domains. The rest refers to your site. That's the part on the left. That's either your name or the name of your ISP. Domain names have to be registered, and there are lots of registering services. I recommend going to domainnamebuyersguide.com. It's kind of a long name. We have a link to it at techtv.com/build-a-site, and you can find a reputable and reasonably priced registrar there. Now make sure, wherever you register your site, that the registrar is approved by ICANN. ICANN is the independent authority over domain name registration. If you register with somebody who isn't approved by ICANN, you're just going to end up paying more because they have to go through somebody who is approved. Now, once you've picked a registrar, go to that registrar's site, follow the instructions, and you'll need to know what's called the IP address of your site's domain servers. Don't worry, your hosting service can give that to you.
It's best to have an account with a hosting service before you register a domain name, though sometimes you can register a domain and park it while you decide on a web host. Domain names cost anywhere from $10 to $35 per year, depending on the registrar. Your hosting service may charge you a small fee to add your domain name to their domain name server. They may also offer to handle the whole process of registering a name for you for a fee, but it's really simple to do it yourself. If yours is a business website, having your own domain name will give it more credibility, which leads us back to the task of actually choosing a domain name. Any tips, Tom? It's kind of like having a baby. How do you find a name?
Choosing a name can be very important and very difficult because a lot of names are taken. So choose something easy to remember, hard to misspell, and distinct from other company names. For instance, I want you to come to my site a lot.com wouldn't be easy to remember necessarily. Anti-disestablishmentarianism.com might be a little hard for folks to spell, and Quickway, spelled with a W, might get confused with quick spelled with a U, which is the correct way. So choose your name wisely. You're going to be stuck with it for a while.
So we built a website.
We did. It was great.
Check that out. That's a good day's work.
Absolutely.
And hopefully you're on your way to building a site of your own. We covered the importance of making a plan and how to choose a web host. We looked at navigation, design, and layout options. We walked you through some of the basics of HTML and learned how to add photos and graphics to your site. Of course, that was just Website Building 101. The truth is, we've really just scratched the surface. But hopefully you've learned enough to be excited about building a website of your very own. I'm thinking about doing it.
Go for it.
I'm excited. What's the next step? Surf the web and look at lots of sites. Pick out those you like and spend some time checking out the code behind the scenes. Then practice creating some HTML code for yourself.
We've talked a lot about resources, and there are dozens more. By logging on to techtv.com/build-a-site, you'll find our web workshop with links to dozens and dozens of articles about expanding your website. And while you're there, you can take a closer look at the TechTV softball website that Sumi and I built here today. You'll also have access to other videos and books in the TechTV Q series. You can purchase titles like Starting an Online Business, HTML by Example, and others. Just go to techtv.com or qpublishing.com.
So that's it. Thanks, Tom, for helping us build our site.
You betcha.
And a special thanks to Jacob Nielsen for his very valuable insight. Good luck to all of you, and we'll be looking for your sites on the World Wide Web.
Have fun.
Not having a website in the future will be like not having a business card today, or not having a fax machine today, or not having a telephone today. It's just going to be assumed you have a website.
Having a website has made it really easy for my nonprofit to advertise itself to individuals and corporations.
It's a way that I can level the playing field, because with a decent website, my presence out in public is as powerful as a huge corporation competing against me.
Especially if you're a small business, you're one person. You can't talk to all those people. You don't have a team of salespeople who can be out there selling. So you need to have a way that you can give them a little window into your business, kind of 24 hours a day.
People could connect with me faster, so people can get information now.
I think it's an essential way to basically gain credibility. Just like in the past you had to have a fax number, now you have to have a website.
It's definitely a must, I think, in this day and age.
How are you going to get a good website in the future? Well, the only way is to begin, because you will do it wrong. I mean, I'm sorry. The first website anybody does, it's not going to be perfect, but the only way to get a great website is to build one and then improve and improve and improve.
This video was brought to you by the TechTV Archive on www.techtvarchive.webs.com. Newly found TechTV material is uploaded every single day.